and Beck.
The state senator from South Carolina, Lee Bright, is joining us now. He has been on the program before, and I don't understand South Carolina at times. It seems to be a little schizophrenic. It has some of the best politicians and some of the, well, it has Lindsey Graham. And I find it to be perplexing, to say the least. But Lee, help me out. I believe that this is one of those states where if you're a Democrat, you can actually vote in the Republican primary. Is that true?
It is. It's a point of contention. You know, we're trying to close the primaries, but it's very difficult to do. But we've been working that direction, but we just hadn't gotten there.
Okay. So are you going to run against Lindsey Graham?
Yes, we announced this morning at 10 a.m. So I know when we talked earlier, we had I was competing with a shoehorn, but I got a little more competition this time. I know I was in the lead the last time we talked.
Right. Okay. So now you are officially in the game, and you're officially running against Lindsey Graham. What is it that the reason why people from South Carolina should trust that you're going to be any different?
Well, I've done that in the state senate. I've been very conservative. I've got a 100 score with the South Carolina Club for Growth. I've got the highest score in the legislature among the Republican Liberty Caucus. I've been consistent on social and physical issues. Basically, I've been fighting the good fight, and looking forward to doing that in Washington.
Okay, so let me go through a couple of things. Lindsey Graham apparently doesn't have a problem with the drone strikes at all, and mocked Rand Paul's filibuster. Where do you stand?
I stand with Rand Paul. I watched a lot of the filibuster. I was so proud. It reminded me, of what America's all about, and that's standing firm for what our founders stood for. And the fact that John McCain and Lindsey Graham have gone the opposite direction is disturbing at best.
He also loves the NSA and says that he doesn't mind if they listen to his phone calls from time to time.
Well, if that's a personal decision for him, if he wants to give up his rights, that's fine. But giving up the rights of fellow Americans, his job is to protect the Constitution, not to submit to the power from Obama.
He said that he supports the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and he was quote shocked to find out what was going on there. He had no idea it was this bad.
Well, he has been over there. They're in recess right now, and you would hope that he would be down here listening to South Carolinians and how they feel about his amnesty plan or about his lack of regard for the Second Amendment. But instead, he's over there becoming a community organizer for the Muslim Brotherhood with McCain.
McCain just said to a radio host friend of mine that we can arm those rebels in Syria because we just look them in the eye. And we'll be able to figure out which ones are which.
Yeah, I wish that they would spend more time worrying about protecting our rights to bear arms versus the Muslim Brotherhood's rights to bear arms.
Okay. You told a group, a 912 group in Charleston last week, that you would vote with Ted Cruz and Mike Lee to defund Obamacare. We had a guy here we had Cornyn here say the same thing. His last campaign. Oh, I'm going to defund that. And now he has a chance, and he's not doing it. Why should we trust you?
Well, when you look at my voting record, I've been consistently the most conservative member of the South Carolina legislature, and I'd put my voting record against any member of any legislature in the country. I have been very conservative. I have just voted to sustain every veto of Governor Haley's in the budget. So I'm a staunch conservative. I voted against debt for roads in South Carolina. I'm trying to stop the debt, and I think that the burden on future generations of Obamacare will outpace any kind of debt we're facing now.
Lee, where do you stand on this comprehensive immigration reform plan, essentially amnesty?
I think for the longest time, and let's just cut to the chase, I like to be direct, but for the longest time I believe that Lindsey Graham and John McCain have had more in common with the Democrat Party than they have the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And what it comes down to is, if you look at the data, most of those folks are illegal now if you make them legal, and they will give them the right to vote. I mean, that's going to be the next step, and those are going to be Democrat voters. So I think it will give John McCain and Lindsey Graham the opportunity to switch parties and gather up those votes.
if you get to D.C., what is the first thing out of all of the problems that we have? What's the first thing that you think you have to tackle?
I think somebody's got to take the fight to Obama. Instead of trying to find ways to compromise with someone who is dismantling the foundation of our nation, we need to take the fight to him.
Okay, so you know what that means, right? I mean, nobody fights him. You know what that means.
It's just we've got 3 in the U.S. Senate that are doing it, and I'm hoping that we get more. But it's just a matter of taking the fight to him. I mean, it's going to be you got to fight the media. I mean, that's the complex.
Okay, so that brings me to my question: how's your soul?
How's my soul? I'm a sinner saved by grace. That's how my soul is. But I'm worried about the soul of America, which to me right now we're in some dark times.
I think I'm going to take that.
Really? Mm-hmm. You're going to accept an answer to that question? You never accept any answer to that question.
I think I'm going to take that. I would like him to go a little deeper, but I think I'll take that one. I think I'll take that one. Senator, you take it on to the president. And you go into Washington, Lee. Everything is going to be stacked against you, and they will bribe you, coerce you, threaten your family. I've seen it. And everybody I know that we've sent up to Washington that I've trusted have come back within a couple of months and said, Glenn, it's much. I know you think you know how bad it is. You have no idea. It's much worse than you think it is.
And that's what I told people after I got elected to the state senate. I said, you think things are bad until you get down there and you find out how bad it really is. And I'm sure Washington's even worse.
Yeah. So what is going to give you the anchor to hold on?
I've been through a lot in my life. I have had to go through a business that did not survive the economic times. I had cancer when I was in high school. My wife and I had 2 very tough miscarriages. I've been through a lot in my life, and the very thing that holds me is my being grounded in my faith. And I realize that we're all but vapors on this earth, and I want to be able to make a difference and to be able to say that my life mattered. And by going up there and being a part of the crowd, I'm not going to be able to make a difference.
Have you ever been denied buying an Hermes purse, though? Has that ever happened to you, Lee? Have you ever been to Switzerland and you wanted to buy a purse really badly, and they wouldn't even show it to you? See, yeah, I didn't think you'd been through something that horrible.
Not that horrible. No, not Oprah horrible.
Good. No.
Yeah. So if I may just say on that last answer, if I may just say, he shoots, he scores.
I thought there was a booyah coming in there.
Yeah. Please don't do that. Yeah. Please don't do any booyah. So, Lee, you have obviously Senator Graham to go up against you, and Nancy Mace is in the race as well. The system in South Carolina, though, it is a runoff. Can you explain the runoff system for people outside of South Carolina that don't get the system?
Yeah, you have to get 50% plus 1 vote. Right now, there are 3 of us in the race. There's Nancy Mace and a gentleman by the name of Richard Cash, who was very conservative, a great guy. I can't say enough good things about, but I just feel like I'm the guy to take the fight to Lindsey Graham. I mean, I'm just more of I'm for advancing, and I'm more in the role of Patton. I'm just for moving forward. I think you see where you look at Obama, one thing to his ability is he's moved forward and been on the attack, and he's got that strategy of constantly advancing. And our fight is that we do nothing but defend, and it's high time we advance.
Well, I agree with you on that, but I will tell you this. You're not only against the progressive left, you're against the progressive right on this. And to take Lindsey Graham out there, the GOP is going to spend every dime they have. Because they will do everything. Lee, if you're not everything that you say you are, if you're not a clean living guy, if you've had any problems, you might as well confess them. I'll give you a week. You come back here and confess everything you think it needs to be confessed, because you got to get it out, because they will do everything they can to destroy you. And I mean, not when you get to Washington, as you challenge Lindsey Graham, they will destroy you. He's a bad man, and there's a few senators that that are on the GOP side that are those old-style senators that everybody thinks is a good guy that are wicked, wicked people behind the scenes, and Lindsey Graham is one of them.
Well, we're going to fight for the survival of this nation, and I'm willing to take any slings and arrows to which I have to face on a personal level. I mean, I had a business fail, so I've got a lot of debt I've got to deal with, just like this nation does. So
how's your wife?
Sure that's the low-hanging fruit.
How's your wife?
My wife is great. We talked about this and prayed about it together, and I told her she had full veto power, and She said that she just didn't want to stand in the way of something that could make a difference for her country. So God love her, and I love her.
That's great.
That's great. Lee, I think your biggest hurdle here is that you have South Carolina. I think if you asked the average Republican in South Carolina who they agree with on issues, you're going to win over Lindsey Graham every time. But that doesn't seem like that's what it's about there. How do you convince South Carolina that they don't have to settle for Lindsey Graham again? They don't need that. They can go with someone who's more consistent with their values.
Well, South Carolinians have been patriotic through our state's history, and the rest of the country is looking to South Carolina what we're going to do. And it doesn't, I'm going to do all I can, but it's up to South Carolinians to do all they can. And I've got faith in this state, and I've got faith in this nation, and I'm an optimist. So I just believe that they're going to get involved, get engaged. I mean, if we have, and we don't have to compete dollar for dollar fund-wise, but if we can raise enough money just to get our message out, I think that Lindsey Graham's term is going to be expired this time next year.
What's the most important thing you've ever learned from your second cousin? No answer to that one, did you?
I get confused.
That's Stu's new question now.
Removed, and I was raised out in the country, so I never quite have been able to understand that.
Okay,
but I will tell you this: when I ran for the state senate the first time, I found out about a lot of cousins I didn't know of, and that's probably how I was able to win on my second election.
All right, the website is Bright for Senate, brightforsenate.com. If you think Lee Bright is worth your support in helping out, go to brightforsenate.com. I will tell you, a shoehorn will be better than Lindsey Graham. And Lee is beyond a shoehorn. In fact, if I may say this, and not really interested in Stu's opinion because he's a piece of garbage, but
I don't understand how I got that.
But Pat,
yes.
Let's talk about. I'm going to say goodbye so we can talk behind your back instead of right to your face.
All right, well, thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate
it. I will tell you, you know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Ted Cruz. When we first started interviewing Ted Cruz. Not sure because
that's true.
I like to see the proof is in the pudding. But he sounded a lot like he said a lot of the same things that Ted Cruz said.
Yes, true. I will say that he definitely, and this happened in the last interview too. He definitely has a good handle on why he believes the things he believes. He doesn't seem like he's a guy who's coming to this as, I know the Rand Paul thing's kind of trendy at the moment, so I'm going to go down that road. He really believes it. And
I think he's like-minded with us on many, if not most, or I doubt all, but the question is, close.
Can he win?
That's the question.
Yeah. Well, now that's going to happen. That's going to be whether or not the Republicans can. I mean, because look, I will tell you right now, the best friend the progressive Democrats have is Lindsey Graham, and they can't lose that seat.
He's the nation's worst senator.
It's not just the Republican progressives that will pour money.
It's the Democrats. They can vote in the primary.
Yeah, so they will do everything they can to keep Lindsey Graham in there.
I don't know why they haven't stopped that in South Carolina.
I don't know
either.
That's
a lesson to people in South Carolina who don't, or it's a red state. You
want the Democrats deciding your Republican primary.
And why do you think the Democrats are so excited about Lindsey Graham? Why do they love him so much?
That's right.
There's a reason for it. It's because he's there for them when they need him.
He's top five.
He's the worst.
He's not
top five. He's top one.
Yeah,
he's the worst. Yeah, it's already been decided. Worst senator in America.
Yeah,
already been decided, Glenn.
The only thing left to decide is he the worst of all time.
How? Yeah. Wait. How is he worse than? I'll put him in a tie with John McCain, but
he's worse than John McCain because South Carolina. Can do better. Can do better. Okay. Yeah. South Carolina gave us Jim DeMint and has Scott in there now. Like, they are very capable of giving us the best senators in America.
Right.
They can give us that, and we instead have the worst senator in America.
And South Carolina, historically is a leader on things. I mean,
Well, with Texas,
sure,
not going to relinquish that to South Carolina, but after Texas.
Well, I don't.
Then you got.
I don't think that we need to get into a state fight here. I don't
Georgia, perhaps.
It's not like
Utah's in there, and then maybe South Carolina.
Wow! Wow! Look at you! Wow! Look at you! Look at you!
Well, prove me wrong.
May I just say,
vote for one of these great candidates that you have a chance to elect now.
That's true.
Prove me wrong, South Carolina.
That's true. So I'd have to throw Kentucky in there because they just
Indiana,
gave us Rand Paul.
Indiana.
So I just have to say.
I think Massachusetts might be more conservative than South Carolina. I don't know. That's what it looks like.
Right.
You know what?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, last time I'm making a phone call or a stop in the Soviet Republic of South Carolina. Let me tell you that.